Chilling drama tonight at 9 as Ken Stott stars in the true story of Adolf Hitler and the women in his life. Uncle Adolf tonight on ITV1. Right now, though, the latest news from London.
Good evening, I'm Nick Clark. The headlines in London tonight. Lifeline volunteers help send tons of supplies from Kent to an orphanage in a Sri Lanka disaster zone. Charity record how Mike Reid is rallying the stars to make a single for the tsunami appeal. And Harrods pledge, the promise that means bargain hunters at today's opening day of the sale will contribute to relief funds. "40 tons of supplies have left Kent today, destined for an orphanage in one of the Asian disaster zones. Volunteers sacrificed their bank holiday to rally round and load trucks with the vitally needed aid, which was donated to a local charity. But that's just one of a fast-growing number of acts of generosity, as Phil Bales now reports.
A plea for help and scores of volunteers appeared overnight. They formed a human chain in the Kent countryside near Keston. Blankets, water, medical supplies and even teddy bears were loaded onto lorries to be rushed to Sri Lanka, one of the areas worst hit by the earthquake.
It's desperately needed. We need clothes, we need medical items, water purifying tablets, a whole array of things, because people have lost everything, not only their homes but their livelihoods, and also they've lost many family members as well, which is tragic.
Almost 30,000 are known to have died in the Sri Lanka region, and half that number again injured. This charity will send more supplies and doctors too. Similar mercy missions are underway across London, but some aren't going quite so well. One Buddhist temple in Chiswick badly needs some help. They're appealing for money and life-saving items like non-perishable foods, medicines, tents and blankets. But most of all, they need a plane to get it there.
We're just sitting with all this stuff, desperate, absolutely desperate to get it out there. And if we could get a plane, then it's here, it's all ready and waiting. We can get it out there. There is people at the other end just waiting to pick it up and take it to where it needs to go. But we need a plane.
There are some remarkable acts of generosity. If you see one particular man driving a black cab, make sure you give him a big tip. Alex Tooley and fellow cabbies are sponsoring this cab for the whole of January. Every fare and tip will go into the disaster fund. Other cabbies are being asked, let this black cab to the front of the queue.
What we're looking for our colleagues to do is when they see the taxi come up to the ranks in the stations, to allow the taxi to go first, so that obviously in the time of January we can maximise what we can take. This particular convoy is safely on its way. These urgently required supplies will stay overnight in Wembley and be flown out from Heathrow tomorrow, hopefully arriving in Sri Lanka on Wednesday. Phil Bales, London Tonight in Kent.
Well, meanwhile, Sir Cliff Richard, Boy George and the opera star Russell Watson are among the talent signed up to sing on a charity record to raise money for the relief appeal. The song, Grief Grows Not Old, was written by former DJ Mike Reid before the disaster, but he's now decided it would make the ideal fundraising single. Our reporter Ronke Phillips met Mike at his studio in West London.
It's being put together in the studio in the back garden of a house in Fulham. But the hope is that the single will capture the public mood in the same way as Band Aid and raise up to £2 million for the victims of the tsunami disaster.
It's the business's way of like, well, what can we do? Well, we can do this and keep the profile going, keep the awareness going over a period of time. We're all very smug in our own little way and we're driving around in our cars and watching TV, and then you see pictures of boats 2 kilometres inland, trains ripped to pieces, bridges down, and this phenomenal rising death toll. And you think, well, that could happen anywhere.
An impressive list of stars have already agreed to sing or play on the single, which is being arranged by producer Steve Levine. And if all goes to plan, it'll be in the shops within 7 days.
Cliff Richard, Olivia Newton-John, Boy George, Tony Hadley, we have Robin Gibb, Chris Rea said that he wants to do so. Bill Wyman's coming on to play bass.
So, and not everything's done here, and you'll be in charge of kind of bringing it all together.
That's right. What we're going to do is, for example, George is currently in New York, so a producer friend of mine who has a studio in New York, we're going to send him the files, we send him a backing track, he will then add George's voice to the track, send just George's vocal back to us, and then we'll insert it into the master. And then the same with Cliff and Olivia.
All the money raised by the single will go directly to the Disasters Emergency Committee. And Mike Reid says his main concern is not whether it tops the charts, but that it makes a lot of money for the people who need it. Ron K. Phillips, London Tonight.
Well, time now to tell you about a special report from one of the disaster zones coming up on London Tonight tomorrow. Here's Eric McInnes.
I have been travelling across southern Thailand over the last 4 days to see for myself the colossal and destructive force of nature's power. Thousands have been killed, many of the dead are still to be recovered, and dozens are from the UK. And we have also travelled to the very heart of the destruction with the international rescue teams. And when we were there, we found a young woman from Surrey who had come out here on holiday last week but decided that the beach was the last place for her. She needed to be amongst the rescue effort, using her linguist skills to translate for international teams in 5 different languages. There's also the story of a young family from London's Docklands who were in their villa watching the wave approach last week. They knew they only had seconds to live. More importantly, they knew they only had seconds to get their young 2-year-old daughter out of her bedroom before the wave overwhelmed them. And as the people of London continue to pledge money to the international effort, we have been to the very heart of the destruction to see where that aid is going. Tomorrow night, I will have a special report for London Tonight. Please join me then.
Yes, that's London Tonight tomorrow, when, of course, we're back to our usual time, which is 6 o'clock. Now, part of the takings from the first day of the Harrods sale will go to the disaster funds. That could be around £150,000. The pledge came today from the store's owner, Mohammed Al Fayed, as the sale was opened by the Hollywood actress Lucy Liu, one of the stars of the Charlie's Angels movies. This report from Rachel Millichip.
It was a glamorous start to this year's sale at Harrods. Hollywood star Lucy Liu arrived in style in a horse-drawn carriage to be met by store chairman Mohammed Al Fayed. Moments later, thousands of restless shoppers joined in a countdown. 3, 2, 1, before pouring through the doors of the store, elbows and credit cards at the ready. As the shopping got started, Lucy Liu took a look around, but decided not to join the scrum straight away.
People are fist fighting down in the bags and shoes department, so I might stay clear of that.
Despite being in January, for many shopaholics, the Harrods sale is the highlight of the shopping year. Some are even prepared to camp outside overnight. And with bargains like this, I can see why. Where's the till?
The first in the queue arrived yesterday, and many more joined them in the early hours, all hoping to pick up designer goods and electrical equipment at a snip.
Is there anything in particular that you're shopping for?
Plasma.
Plasma TV.
Plasma TV.
And what sort of discount are you hoping to get on it for sale?
A big discount, 75% at least. She wants a bag and I want some boots.
As the morning rolled on, the cash rolled in. 2% of today's takings have been pledged for the Tsunami Relief Fund by Harrods boss Mohammed Al Fayed, who never misses the first day of the annual sale in his famous shop.
It's a tremendous feeling, great satisfaction to see the people coming here, supporting me, supporting Harrods, and tremendous feeling, which I enjoy.
For the determined, there are definitely bargains to be had, but you have to be a pretty hardened shopper to brave the crowds and the credit card bills. Rachel Millichip, London Tonight.
And you can be sure that analysts will be keeping a keen eye on how Harrods does after reports predicting the worst January sales for 25 years. Many stores have pinned their hopes on bargain hunters turning out in force from Boxing Day onwards, but early indications are that the start of the sales have in fact shown a fall compared with December 2003. On to other news now, and the National Rowing Association will help investigate the drowning of a 12-year-old boy in the Thames near Reading. The youngster, who hasn't been named, was in a single-scull rowing boat when he fell into the river yesterday morning. He was training with other members of Reading Rowing Club. 2 boys tried to save him but had to give up because the water was so cold. His body was found by police divers. A £60 million upgrade of Oxford Circus Tube Station gets underway later this month. The 4-year refurbishment is the biggest undertaken by Metronet, the consortium responsible for revamping 2/3 of the Underground. The start of work coincides with the end of the January sales to minimise the effect on business.